Today we're going to talk about how to conjugate verbs. To conjugate, which is a magical word when you're learning languages, basically means that you adapt a verb to a personal pronoun. Let's see with an example what I'm referring to. For that, I'm going to keep our personal pronouns chart at the very top of the screen just for reference. So let's suppose that we have any verb in English, and we're going to pick, for example, to talk. And let's see how we would conjugate this verb. And that is the conjugation of the verb to talk in present tense. What it basically implies is that we're going to be adding an S right there just for the personal pronouns he, she, or it. The conjugation of verbs in Spanish is fairly similar. You adapt the verb slightly depending on the personal pronouns. Let's take a look at an example. The first thing that I would like to mention is that all verbs in Spanish finish in one of these three endings: AR, ER, or IR. An example of a verb that finishes in AR is comprar, to buy. An example of a verb that finishes in ER is beber, to drink. And an example of a verb that finishes in IR is vivir, to live. To conjugate a Spanish verb, the first thing we are going to do is we're going to remove the last two letters of the verb, either AR, ER, or IR. We're going to use comprar as an example. So let's remove the AR. And basically our stem, or the part that we're going to use to conjugate the verb, is going to be COMPR. And that's what we are going to use with the personal pronouns in the first place. Let's go. And now what we are going to do is we're going to add the endings corresponding to each personal pronouns, basically the equivalent to the S in English for the he, she, or it personal pronoun. For yo, and on an AR verb would be compro. Tú would be compras, AS. Él o ella would be compra. Nosotros would be compramos. For vosotros, it would be compráis. And for ellos, it would be compran. Now we're going to repeat the same process for the verb beber, and I'm going to show you the endings for the ER verbs. For ER verbs, the ending for the yo personal pronouns would be bebo. For tú, it would be bebes, es. For he or she, él o ella, would be bebe. For nosotros, it would be bebemos. For vosotros, it would be bebéis. And for ellos would be beben. I would like you to notice that simply, in order to remember the terminations for ER verbs, is basically the same ones as the AR verbs, but the A changes to an E. Now let's see what happens with the IR verbs. Now, the ending for the IR verbs and the yo personal pronoun would be vivo. For tú, it would be an es, vives. For él o ella, it would be an I, vive. For nosotros, it would be imos, and therefore it would be vivimos. For vosotros, it would be an IS, vivís. And for ellos would be IN, viven. And that's how any regular verb is conjugated in present tense. The first step is determining if the verb is an AR, ER, or IR verb. Once we have determined that, we can remove the last two letters of the verb, either AR, ER, or IR, and then we can add the terminations. This is a fairly mechanic process that you will master in a few days. The only thing that you have to get acquainted to is what the terminations are for each pronoun. Once you get practice, it will become automatic.